To grow as an individual, I've had to make uncomfortable decisions. Whenever I'm faced with one of these situations, I have a couple stories that I tell myself so that I move forward and go through the uncomfortability. Now, one of my favorite stories that I'm going to be sharing with you today is what I like to call the skydiving story. How the story goes is, imagine this: you're with your friend, you've been talking in the last 5 years about going skydiving, and you finally decide to pay for it, plan it for the weekend. You're on the drive there, you get all the way to the plane, right? You board the plane, you're going all the way up in the air, right? And it's getting to that moment where you're close to having to make the jump out of the plane that you've been talking about for the last 5 years. When you're up in the air, you're staring out the window and you're just seeing how far down it is. When the instructor, he goes to open the door and he's saying, now is the time to jump. He's got his hand, he's reaching it out for you. And you walk up there to the door and you look outside and you're seeing just how far down there is to the ground. In that moment, when you stand there, the longer you take to take the instructor's hand to make the jump, does it get harder or easier the longer you wait? It gets harder. Now, why is that? Well, it's because the longer you take, the more time, the more power to that something inside of you called fear. And what fear does is your brain is basically activating fight or flight mode. And in that mode, it's basically thinking about all the millions of reasons why not to do it. It's literally making up reasons on the spot to keep you safe, to keep you where you're at, to keep you in your comfort zone. Unfortunately, staying safe and staying in your comfort zone is not what most people ultimately want. Like, you're up in the plane about to jump because you want an exhilarating experience, because you want to get out of your comfort zone. So the last thing you would want is to listen to your survival instincts, to your fight or flight response, and not make the jump, just sit back down and wait for you to land to the ground. That's not what you really want. Imagine this. You're probably in this situation in other areas of your life. You've been thinking about something forever and you're on a plane about to make that jump, but you're just hesitant and you're giving power to fear, letting fear take over your decision making. You've probably had multiple opportunities where you've had a chance to jump out of the plane, but you chose to sit back down and wait for the plane to land. So my challenge to you is, whenever you're in an uncomfortable situation, right, where you're at a point of no return, you're on a plane staring down, or an equivalent of that, my challenge to you is, don't let fear take over. Make that jump to chase, to go for what you really want out of life, what you're really there for. Get comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable and still moving forward, if it's gonna get you closer to where you wanna be. Anyway, that's my skydiving story. Hopefully that's helpful. I know it certainly helped me.